When billionaire tech mogul Ethan Blake walked into his penthouse bathroom after the most stressful day of his life, the last thing he expected was to find a beautiful woman in a janitor's uniform fast asleep on his toilet seat. What happened next would shatter his perfectly controlled world and prove that sometimes love finds you in the most unexpected places, even when you're at your most vulnerable moment. Before we dive into this incredible love story that will make you believe in fairy tales again, smash that like button if you're ready for a romance that proves true love doesn't care about social status. Drop a comment letting me know where you're watching from around the world. And don't forget to hit subscribe and ring that notification bell because stories like this remind us that magic can happen when we least expect it. Now let's see how a case of mistaken identity changed two lives forever. Sofia Martinez was running on fumes. 3 jobs, 18-hour days, and exactly 4 hours of sleep were finally catching up with her exhausted body. As she pushed her cleaning cart through the gleaming halls of Blake Technologies Tower, she fought to keep her eyes open. Just one more floor, she whispered to herself, checking her watch. 11:47 p.m. The executive level was always her last stop. Pristine offices that barely needed cleaning, occupied by people who made more in a day than she made in a year. Sofia had been working for elite cleaning services for 2 years, ever since she'd dropped out of culinary school to care for her sick grandmother. The dream of becoming a chef felt like a lifetime ago. Now her world consisted of disinfectant, vacuum cleaners, and the constant ache in her feet. She approached the corner office, the one marked Ethan Blake, CEO, in elegant gold lettering. Through the glass walls, she could see it was empty. Good. The fewer people around, the faster she could finish and finally go home. Sofia keyed into the office with her master pass. The space was immaculate, minimalist, and cold. She made her way to the private bathroom attached to the CEO's office. It was larger than her entire studio apartment. Marble floors, gold fixtures, a rainfall shower that probably cost more than her monthly rent. Sofia bent down to clean around the toilet, and for just a moment, she rested her head against the cool marble wall. Just for a second, just to close her eyes. When exhaustion finally won, Sofia found herself slumping down onto the closed toilet seat, her head falling forward as sleep claimed her completely. Ethan Blake had just survived the worst board meeting of his career. The hostile takeover attempt by Blackstone Industries had been brutal, but he'd managed to fight them off. Barely. At 32, he was the youngest CEO in his company's history, and there were plenty of people waiting for him to fail. He loosened his tie as the elevator carried him to the 45th floor, his private domain. All he wanted was a hot shower, a glass of expensive whiskey, and solitude. Ethan had built his empire on control, precision, and emotional detachment. Feelings were weaknesses, and weaknesses were exploited. His penthouse office was dark except for the city lights streaming through the windows. Ethan kicked off his Italian leather shoes and unbuttoned his shirt as he headed straight for his private bathroom. He pushed open the door without looking and stepped inside. That's when he saw her. A young woman in a cleaning uniform was asleep on his toilet seat, her head tilted to one side, dark hair falling across her face like a curtain. She looked peaceful, almost ethereal in the soft bathroom lighting. Ethan's first instinct was anger. How dare someone invade his private space? He opened his mouth to demand an explanation, but something stopped him. Maybe it was the way she looked so vulnerable, so exhausted, or maybe it was the fact that she was the most beautiful woman he'd ever seen, even in her sleep. Instead of shouting, Ethan found himself studying her face. High cheekbones, full lips slightly parted in sleep, long eyelashes that cast shadows on her olive skin. She couldn't be more than 25, and she looked like she hadn't slept properly in weeks. That's when Sofia stirred, slowly opening her eyes. For a moment, they stared at each other in stunned silence. The billionaire CEO shirtless and shocked, and the cleaning lady mortified beyond words. "Oh my God!" Sofia jumped up so quickly she nearly fell over. "I'm so sorry. I didn't mean to. I was just cleaning and You were sleeping," Ethan said, his voice surprisingly calm. "In my bathroom." Sofia's face turned crimson. "I know how this looks, but I swear I wasn't doing anything wrong. I've been working double shifts and I closed my eyes for a second and, how long have you been here? I don't know. Maybe 20 minutes? I'm so sorry, Mr. Blake. Please don't fire me. I need this job. My grandmother is sick and I have bills and— Stop, Ethan said quietly, holding up a hand. Sophia fell silent. Sure, her life was about to crumble, but instead of calling security, Ethan did something unexpected. He grabbed a bathrobe from behind the door and put it on, then leaned against the marble counter and really looked at her. What's your name? Sophia Martinez. How long have you been working here, Sophia? 2 years, she said quietly, still ready to bolt. And you're working double shifts? Sophia nodded, not trusting her voice. Ethan was quiet for a long moment, studying her with those intense gray eyes. But Sophia didn't see intimidation there. She saw something else, curiosity, maybe even concern. When did you last eat? He asked suddenly. The question caught Sophia off guard. What? Food? When did you last have a proper meal? Sophia tried to remember. She'd grabbed a granola bar that morning, but with all the rushing around. Yesterday, I think. Ethan's jaw tightened. Come with me. What? No, I should go. I should finish cleaning and— The cleaning can wait. You're about to collapse from exhaustion and hunger. Mr. Blake, I really can't— It wasn't a request. Something in his tone made Sophia follow him out of the bathroom and into the main office. Ethan went to a small kitchenette hidden behind sleek cabinet doors and began pulling out containers from a mini fridge. Sit, he said, gesturing to one of the leather chairs facing his desk. Sophia perched on the edge of the chair, ready to run at any moment. This had to be some kind of test. CEOs didn't feed their cleaning staff. They certainly didn't invite them to sit in their personal offices at midnight. Ethan placed a plate in front of her, what looked like an expensive takeout meal from some fancy restaurant. Eat. I can't accept this. Why not? Because you're you and I'm me, and this doesn't happen in real life. Ethan sat down across from her, and for the first time all day, he looked relaxed. What doesn't happen? Rich men don't rescue cleaning ladies who fall asleep in their bathrooms. Maybe they should. Sophia looked at him suspiciously. Why are you being nice to me? Ethan considered the question. Because when I saw you sleeping there, you looked like you were carrying the weight of the world on your shoulders, and for some reason I wanted to help carry it. Sophia felt something flutter in her chest. She picked up the fork and took a small bite. The food was incredible. Some kind of gourmet pasta that probably cost more than she made in a day. This is really good, she said quietly. Tell me about your grandmother, he said suddenly. Sophia looked up, surprised. Why? Because I want to know. There was something in his voice that made Sophia trust him. She raised me after my parents died in a car accident when I was 10. She's the only family I have left. She has diabetes and heart problems, and the medications are expensive. That's why you're working 3 jobs. 2 jobs and school. School? Sophia's cheeks flushed. I was studying culinary arts before everything happened. I still take night classes when I can afford them. You want to be a chef? Wanted. That dream is pretty much dead now. Why? Because dreams don't pay medical bills. The resignation in her voice hit Ethan harder than he expected. Here was someone with passion, talent, and dreams, working herself to exhaustion just to survive. Show me, he said suddenly. Show you what? You're cooking. Tomorrow night. Cook for me. Sophia stared at him. Are you serious? I'm always serious. Mr. Blake, I appreciate the kindness, but I can't. 1 meal. Consider it a job interview. For what position? Ethan smiled, and Sophia realized it was the first genuine smile she'd seen from him. We'll figure that out tomorrow. The next evening, Sophia found herself in the state-of-the-art kitchen of Blake Technologies' executive floor, staring at ingredients that probably cost more than her monthly rent. Ethan had given her free rein to cook whatever she wanted, and despite her nerves, she felt more alive than she had in months. "What would you like me to make?" she asked. "Whatever you want. Surprise me." Sophia opened the massive refrigerator and found it stocked with premium ingredients. Her mind began racing with possibilities. "How hungry are you?" she asked. "Starving. I haven't eaten since breakfast." "When was breakfast?" 6 a.m. Sophia looked at him incredulously. "You haven't eaten in 12 hours?" "I had coffee." "Coffee isn't food." Sophia's professional instincts kicked in. "Sit down. This is going to take me a few minutes." Ethan found himself obeying, settling into a chair at the kitchen island to watch Sophia work. She'd tied her hair back and rolled up her sleeves, and suddenly she looked like a completely different person. Confident, in control, alive. Sophia's hands moved with practiced efficiency, seasoning chicken breasts and setting them to sear while she chopped vegetables for a quick risotto. The kitchen filled with the aroma of garlic, herbs, and sautéing onions. "Tell me about your worst day," she said as she stirred the rice. "What? Yesterday, when I fell asleep in your bathroom. You looked like you'd been through a war." Ethan was quiet for a moment. "Someone tried to buy my company out from under me. A hostile takeover." "Did they succeed?" But it was close." Sophia glanced at him while adding white wine to the risotto. "Is that why you're here so late every night? I've been cleaning your office for 2 years and your computer is always on, your coffee cup is always full, and you have takeout containers in your trash can almost every night." Ethan stared at her. "You've been watching me?" Sophia's cheeks flushed. "Not watching, just noticing. You work too much," says the woman working 3 jobs. "That's different. I have to work 3 jobs. You choose to work 18-hour days. It's not a choice when you're responsible for 10,000 employees and their families." Sophia plated the chicken over the risotto and drizzled it with a pan sauce that smelled like heaven. She set the plate in front of Ethan along with a glass of wine. "Try it," she said nervously. Ethan took a bite, and his eyes immediately closed. The flavors were incredible. Complex, balanced, professional quality. When he opened his eyes, Sophia was watching him anxiously. "Well, Sophia, this is extraordinary. Where did you learn to cook like this?" "My grandmother. She owned a small restaurant in Mexico before she came to America, and culinary school before I had to drop out." Ethan took another bite, then another. He couldn't remember the last time food had tasted this good. "This is restaurant quality. Better than restaurant quality." "Really? Have you ever thought about opening your own place?" Sophia laughed, but there was sadness in it. "With what money? And when? I barely have time to sleep, let alone start a business." Ethan set down his fork and really looked at her. "What if you could? What if money and time weren't an issue?" "They are an issue. But what if they weren't?" Sophia bit her lip, and Ethan could see the dreams flickering in her eyes. "I'd want a small place, intimate, somewhere people could come for comfort food made with love, good ingredients, reasonable prices, a place where families could afford to celebrate special occasions. Not some fancy place charging $100 a plate. Food is meant to nourish people, not intimidate them." Ethan felt something shift in his chest. When was the last time he'd met someone who cared more about purpose than profit? "Sophia, I have a proposition for you." She looked at him warily. "What kind of proposition?" "Quit your cleaning job. Come work for me." "Doing what?" "Being my personal chef." Sophia stared at him. "Are you serious? The pay would be triple what you're making now, full benefits, flexible schedule so you can continue school, and your grandmother's medical expenses would be covered under the company health plan." Sophia felt dizzy. "Why would you do that?" "Because I need someone I can trust, someone who isn't trying to use me for connections or money, someone who makes food like this." He gestured to his empty plate. "This is crazy. Is that a no?" Sophia looked around the kitchen, at the man who was offering to change her life, at the opportunity that seemed too good to be true. What's the catch? No catch. There's always a catch. Ethan stood up and moved closer to her. The only catch is that you'd have to put up with me every day. I've been told I'm difficult to work with. Sophia found herself studying his face. The sharp jawline, the gray eyes that seemed to see everything, the way his hair fell across his forehead when he leaned forward. "Why do I feel like you're not just talking about cooking?" she asked quietly. "Because you're perceptive." They stood there for a moment, the air between them charged with something neither of them wanted to name. "I need to think about it," Sophia said finally. "How long?" 24 hours, Ethan nodded. "Fair enough, but Sophia..." "Yes?" "Don't overthink it. Sometimes the best opportunities come disguised as impossible dreams." Sophia accepted the job, and over the next few months, her life transformed completely. She arrived early each morning to prepare Ethan's breakfast, packed him healthy lunches, and stayed late to cook dinner when his schedule permitted. But the job quickly became more than just cooking. Ethan began asking her opinion on everything: which restaurant to choose for client dinners, whether a particular wine pairing made sense, even her thoughts on new menu items for the company cafeteria. More importantly, Sophia began to see past Ethan's cold exterior to the lonely man underneath. She learned about his mother's death when he was 15, his father's emotional abandonment, his years of building walls to protect himself from disappointment. "You're more confident," Ethan observed one evening as Sophia prepared dinner in his penthouse apartment. He'd bought out the top 2 floors of the building and converted them into a stunning living space that felt more like a museum than a home. "Do I seem more confident, or am I finally comfortable?" "Both." Sophia glanced at him. "In that case, this apartment is beautiful but cold. It doesn't feel like anyone actually lives here." "Ouch. You asked for honesty." Ethan laughed. "What would you change?" "Color, for starters. Some books that have actually been read, photos of people you care about, plants. Something that shows your personality instead of just your bank account." "I'm not sure I have a personality anymore." Sophia stopped cooking and turned to face him. "Everyone has a personality. Some people just bury it under expectations and obligations." "And what's mine buried under?" "Fear." The word hit Ethan like a physical blow. Fear of what? Of being human, of making mistakes, of letting people see who you really are instead of who you think you need to be. Ethan stared at her for a long moment. "You think you know me that well?" "I think you're the loneliest person I've ever met, and you use work and success to avoid dealing with it." "That's brutally honest." "Too honest? Number just surprising. Most people see the money and power and assume I have everything I could want." "Do you?" Ethan considered the question while Sophia finished preparing dinner. "I thought I did," he said quietly. As they ate dinner at the dining table that Ethan admitted he'd never actually used, Sophia told him stories about her grandmother, about growing up in a house that was small but full of love. "It sounds wonderful," Ethan said. It was. Chaotic and loud and perfect. "I grew up in boarding schools, very quiet, very controlled." "That sounds lonely." "It was necessary. My father believed emotions were weakness." "What about your mother?" Ethan's expression darkened. She tried to soften his edges. When she died, he gave up pretending to be human. Sophia reached across the table and covered his hand with hers. The contact was electric, sending warmth shooting up Ethan's arm. "I'm sorry," she said softly. "It was a long time ago. That doesn't make it hurt less." Ethan stared down at their joined hands. When was the last time someone had touched him with genuine compassion? "Sophia," he said quietly. "Yes?" "Thank you. For the food, for the honesty, for this." "This?" Ethan met her eyes. "For making me remember what it feels like to be human." The moment stretched between them, charged with possibility. Sophia felt herself leaning forward, drawn by the vulnerability in Ethan's eyes. He was leaning toward her too, his gaze dropping to her lips. Then Sophia's phone rang, shattering the spell. "I should..." Sophia started, pulling her hand away. "Of course." Sophia answered the phone, and Ethan heard her sharp intake of breath. What? When? I'll be right there. She hung up, her face pale. I have to go. My grandmother is in the hospital. Ethan was already standing. I'll drive you. You don't have to. I'm driving you. 20 minutes later, they were racing through the city in Ethan's Lamborghini. Sophia sat silent in the passenger seat, her hands clenched in her lap, trying not to think about losing the only family she had left. She's going to be okay, Ethan said quietly. You don't know that. No, but I know she's tough. Anyone who raised you would have to be. Sophia glanced at him, surprised by the tenderness in his voice. Thank you. For what? For caring. For coming with me. For not making me face this alone. Ethan reached over and took her hand, squeezing gently. You're not alone anymore, Sophia. Not as long as I'm around. In that moment, racing through the night toward an uncertain future, Sophia realized she was falling for her billionaire boss, and from the way Ethan was holding her hand like a lifeline, she suspected he was falling for her too. For those of you who've made it this far in our incredible love story, let's have some fun. If you believe that true love can happen between people from different worlds, type fairy tale in the comments. Only true romantics will understand. Now let's see how our couple navigates the challenges ahead. Elena Martinez was stable but weak when Sophia finally reached her hospital bedside. The doctors said it was a mild heart episode, but Sophia couldn't shake her fear of losing the only family she had left. Mija, stop looking at me like I'm dying, Elena said in Spanish, though her voice was weaker than usual. You scared me, abuela. I scared myself. Elena's eyes moved to Ethan, who was standing quietly in the corner. And who is this handsome man? Sophia felt her cheeks burn. This is Ethan, my employer. Employer? Elena raised an eyebrow. Employers don't hold your hand in the car and look at you like you hung the moon. Abuela! Ethan stepped forward. Mrs. Martinez, I'm Ethan Blake. Sophia works for me, but more importantly, she's become very important to me. Elena studied him with sharp eyes. How important? Important enough that when she got that phone call, nothing else mattered except getting her here safely. Elena smiled for the first time since they'd arrived. That's an honest answer. I like him, Mija. Over the next 3 days, while Elena recovered, Ethan proved just how much Sophia meant to him. He rearranged his schedule to drive her to visiting hours. He had the hospital's finest private room arranged without being asked. He brought coffee and meals when Sophia forgot to eat. You don't have to do all this, Sophia said on the 3rd day as they sat in the hospital cafeteria. I want to. Why? Ethan was quiet for a moment. Because when I saw the terror in your eyes that night, I realized I'd do anything to take that pain away. And that scared me more than any hostile takeover I've ever faced. Ethan, I'm falling for you, Sophia. Hard and fast, and completely against my better judgment. Sophia felt her heart stop. You're my boss. I know. This is complicated. I know. People will say I'm using you, that I'm after your money. I know. Ethan reached across the table and took her hands. Do you care? Sophia looked into his gray eyes and saw everything she'd been trying to deny. The attraction, the connection, the growing love that scared her breathless. Yes, she said quietly, but not enough to walk away. Ethan's smile was like sunrise. Thank God. He leaned across the table and kissed her softly, and Sophia melted into the kiss, her hands coming up to cup his face. When they broke apart, they were both breathing hard. What happens now? Sophia whispered. Now, we figure it out together. The next few months were a whirlwind of stolen moments and careful navigation. Ethan and Sophia kept their relationship private at first, but hiding their love proved impossible. Ethan started smiling more at work. Sophia hummed while she cooked. They had a glow that made people suspect something had changed. The first real test came when their relationship was threatened by misunderstandings about their different worlds. Sophia worried about fitting into Ethan's elite social circle, while Ethan struggled with balancing his demanding career and his growing love for Sophia. "I want to wake up next to someone who loves me for who I am," Sophia said during one of their deep conversations. "I want to cook for people I care about. I want kids someday, a house full of them, loud and messy and full of love." "That sounds perfect," Ethan replied. "6 months ago, I would have said I wanted to expand the company globally, build a legacy. But now I want to come home to someone who makes me laugh. I want to eat dinner at a table instead of my desk. I want to matter to someone the way they matter to me." Sophia felt tears prick her eyes. "I love you too." The words hung between them, precious and terrifying and absolutely true. "Even though I'm a workaholic control freak?" Ethan asked. "Even though I'm a broke culinary student who fell asleep on your toilet?" They both laughed, and Ethan brought her hand to his lips, kissing her knuckles gently. "We're really doing this, aren't we?" Sophia said. "If you'll have me." "I'll have you. But I want all of you, Ethan. The good, the bad, the parts you think aren't worth loving." Ethan felt his chest tighten with emotion. No one had ever asked for all of him before. "That's a dangerous request," he said quietly. "I'm a dangerous woman." "Yes, you are." After working through their fears and challenges together, Ethan made a decision that surprised everyone, including himself. Instead of pursuing his planned European expansion, he chose to invest in Sophia's dream. "What if we postponed the European expansion?" he asked one evening. "What if instead of me traveling all over Europe, we focused on something here?" "Like what?" "Like your restaurant." Sophia's heart stopped. "Ethan, not me buying it for you. Us building it together, your vision, your menu, your dream, but maybe I could handle the business side while you focus on the creative side. We'd be partners in every sense of the word." "You'd do that? Give up your expansion to help me build a restaurant?" "Sophia, the expansion will always be there, but the chance to build something beautiful with the woman I love? That's once in a lifetime." Tears were streaming down Sophia's face now. "I love you too. So much it terrifies me." "Good. We should be a little scared. It means it matters." Ethan pulled her into his arms and kissed her with all the longing and love and relief of finally choosing the right path. "So what do we do now?" Sophia asked. "Now we start planning Casa Elena." "Together?" "Together. Equal partners in love and business and everything else that matters." If this love story made your heart soar and reminded you that true love means growing together rather than changing for each other, smash that like button and share this with someone who believes in fairy tale endings. Drop a comment telling me where you're watching from around the world, and let me know about your own unexpected love story. Don't forget to subscribe with notifications on, because love stories like this prove that sometimes the most beautiful chapters of our lives begin with the most ordinary moments. 1 year later, Sophia stood in the kitchen of Casa Elena, putting the finishing touches on the evening's specials. The restaurant was everything she'd dreamed of: intimate, warm, filled with the laughter of families celebrating special moments over food made with love. "The food critic from the Times just sat down," Ethan said, sliding his arms around her waist from behind. "Which table?" "Corner booth. She ordered the mole enchiladas and the seafood risotto." Sophia leaned back against his chest. "Think she'll like it?" "I think she's going to love it almost as much as I love the woman who created it." Flatterer. Truth-teller. Casa Elena had been open for 6 months and was already booked solid every night. Sophia's unique Mexican-Italian fusion had drawn attention from food critics across the country. But more importantly, it had become exactly what she'd envisioned: a place where families could afford to celebrate, where every meal felt like coming home. "Sophia?" Ethan said when the dinner rush had calmed down. "Yes? There's something I've been meaning to ask you." "What's that?" Ethan dropped to one knee in the middle of the bustling kitchen, pulling a small velvet box from his pocket. The entire staff stopped what they were doing, grinning as they realized what was happening. "Sophia Martinez, you changed my life the night I found you sleeping in my bathroom. You taught me that the best things in life can't be bought or controlled. They can only be given and received with an open heart. Sophia's hands flew to her mouth, tears already streaming down her face. You made me believe in love, in partnership, in the kind of happiness I thought existed only in movies. Will you marry me? Yes, Sophia laughed through her tears. Yes, yes, 1,000 times yes. The kitchen erupted in cheers as Ethan slipped the ring onto her finger and kissed her deeply. In that moment, surrounded by the warmth and chaos of the restaurant they'd built together, Sophia realized that sometimes the most extraordinary love stories begin with the most ordinary moments. Sometimes a wrong turn leads you exactly where you need to be. Sometimes falling asleep in the wrong place is the best mistake you'll ever make. And sometimes, when you're least expecting it, love finds you and changes everything. Not because it makes you perfect, but because it makes you perfectly, beautifully human. Thank you for joining Sophia and Ethan on their incredible journey from that fateful night in the bathroom to building their dreams together. If you believe that love conquers all differences and that true partnerships are built on mutual respect and shared dreams, make sure you're subscribed to this channel for more heartwarming stories. Share this with someone who needs to be reminded that fairy tales do come true. Sometimes they just start in the most unexpected places. Until next time, remember that the best love stories aren't about finding someone perfect, but about finding someone perfect for you. Keep believing in love, keep dreaming big, and never be afraid to fall asleep where you don't belong. You might just wake up where you're meant to be.